Let's talk about this now with Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. He is a member of the Judiciary Committee. So thanks for being with us. Your biggest concerns with these rulings today?
Well, I think the end to nationwide injunctions creates a bit of confusion when the government is a party, because the United States government is nationwide and it should have a consistent policy across the nation. So this allows for considerable delay and confusion in the early stages of litigation. On the other hand, once the district court has ruled in a particular district, that ruling is the law of that district. Once a ruling has come down in the Circuit Court of Appeals, that ruling is the law of that entire circuit. And once 3 or 4 or 5 district judges have all ruled the same way, then the Department of Justice is bound by those rulings or potentially vulnerable to sanctions for vexatious and frivolous litigation. So there are restraints within the court system on the way in which the Trump administration intends to abuse this ruling.
You are, of course, the former AG of Rhode Island, and you speak like one there for sure. But as President Trump is previewing there, we just heard it, his intention to move forward with so many policies via executive action because of this ruling in this birthright citizenship case. What are Democrats prepared to do to counter that?
I think litigation remains the best option against these executive orders where they are illegal or unconstitutional or both, which is so often the case in this administration. And I think we've seen Democratic attorney generals and also just regular litigants having whopping successes against the administration. The substance of those successes doesn't change. You just have to go to more places to expand and enforce those successes. And there comes a point fairly early where the government can no longer litigate its position in good faith because it is lost over and over and over again.
So there's the legal avenue, of course. There's also the political avenue on this. I wonder, as you are reflecting on what Democrats can do here politically, it's pretty clear the history books are going to look back on this period in time as a time when this president expanded the powers of the presidency, consolidated so much of it. But I wonder, do you also think, and you've heard, right, the criticisms from voters, criticisms from donors. Do you think that history books might also look back on this period of time as one where Democrats in Congress and the Democratic Party could have done a better job as a minority party to offer voters an alternative vision or more compelling leadership?
Actually, I think the problems in the Democratic Party were some years ago when so many of us saw the enormous apparatus of misinformation and political influence that the far right, and particularly the fossil fuel industry, was building up, and we didn't build countermeasures to that apparatus. We have not been effective at calling out its mischief and its lies and looking behind the curtain, showing the American people behind the curtain. So I think we could have done far better there. I think that under the circumstances, what we're seeing is that the American public is with us. The No Kings demonstrations may very well have been the biggest demonstrations in the history of the United States of America. And people came out big time to express their opposition to this administration. We've got an election coming up next November that may very well cement that could put the House back in Democratic hands, even the Senate back in Democratic hands. So we're on the right path now.
What do you see, and turning the subject now to this bill, this big Trump agenda bill, the big beautiful bill as he calls it, going through the Senate and the House as we expect it may. You know, when you look at that, and you know that some of your Republican colleagues are actually very concerned about how vulnerable that bill could be for them politically, do you see your party, you know, seizing on that? And do you also maybe see some of the parts of that bill, are there any parts of that bill that you could get behind?
The effects of this bill on the American public, if it goes into effect, are predictably a body blow for the Republican Party. And as it gets closer to game day and they've got to actually pull the trigger on this, They're seeing that more and more, and they're getting more and more nervous. Right now, as you and I are talking, a small sort of tea leaves in the Congress measure has just occurred, which is that today's vote has been moved forward from 6 p.m. to 4 p.m. That may seem like nothing, but it means that the Republicans are responding to the desire of their members to get to the airport today and get their flights home. So this is no longer DEFCON 1, stick around the Capitol, we're going to get this done. They have collapsed back to a very regular schedule of everybody going home for the weekend while they try to figure it out. That's a big step back.
Could you get behind something like no federal tax on tips and overtime, the increase to the child tax credit?
If there were any kind of an honest effort to put together a bipartisan bill, of course there are ways that we can find agreement. The House came together on a child tax credit bill, and we would still love to get that done. There are a number of measures that I would like to see pass into law, but you can't get past the destruction of Medicaid. You can't get past the damage that would do to hospitals and nursing homes across America. You can't get past how working class people are going to take it on the chin from this bill, and all for a bunch of billionaires who already have more money than they can count.
Senator Whitehouse, we appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us.